But until a person can say deeply and honestly, "I am what I am today because of the choices I made yesterday," that person cannot say, "I choose otherwise." Most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. Treat a man as he is and he will remain as he is. Treat a man as he can and should be and he will become as he can and should be. Trust is the glue of life. It's the most essential ingredient in effective communication. It's the foundational principle that holds all relationships. Most of us spend too much time on what is urgent and not enough time on what is important. Start with the end in mind. To change ourselves effectively, we first had to change our perceptions. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. I am not a product of my circumstances. I am a product of my decisions. We see the world, not as it is, but as we are or, as we are conditioned to see it. Strength lies in differences, not in similarities. When the trust account is high, communication is easy, instant, and effective. Sow a thought, reap an action, sow an action, reap a habit, sow a habit, reap a character, sow a character, reap a destiny. Two people can see the same thing, disagree, and yet both be right. It's not logical, it's psychological. You have to decide what your highest priorities are and have the courage, pleasantly, smilingly, non-apologetically, to say no to other things. And the way you do that is by having a bigger yes burning inside. The enemy of the best is often the good. If I really want to improve my situation, I can work on the one thing over which I have control, myself. We are free to choose our actions, but we are not free to choose the consequences of these actions. To touch the soul of another human being is to walk on holy ground. To learn and not to do is really not to learn. To know and not to do is really not to know. Happiness, like unhappiness, is a proactive choice. Habit is the intersection of knowledge, what to do, skill, how to do, and desire, want to do. The way we see the problem is the problem. Love is a verb. Love, the feeling, is the fruit of love, the verb or our loving actions. So love her. Sacrifice. Listen to her. Empathize. Appreciate. Affirm her. At some time in your life, you probably had someone believe in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Be a light, not a judge. Be a model, not a critic. The ability to subordinate an impulse to a value is the essence of the proactive person. Courage isn't abject of fear, it is the awareness that something else is important. You can't talk your way out of a problem you behaved your way into. Ineffective people live day after day with unused potential. Live out of your imagination, not your history. Our behavior is a function of our decisions, not our conditions. As you care less about what people think of you, you will care more about what others think of themselves. There are three constants in life: change, choice, and principles. Admission of ignorance is often the first step in our education. We are not human beings on a spiritual journey. We are spiritual beings on a human journey. There's no better way to inform and expand your mind on a regular basis than to get into the habit of reading good literature. People simply feel better about themselves when they're good at something. If the ladder is not leaning against the right wall, every step we take just gets us to the wrong place faster. How you treat the one reveals how you regard the many, because everyone is ultimately a one. How different our lives are when we really know what is deeply important to us, and keeping that picture in mind, we manage ourselves each day to be and to do what really matters most. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. People can't live with change if there's not a changeless core inside them. I teach people how to treat me by what I will allow. The biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. The key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. If you want to have a more pleasant, Cooperative teenager, be a more understanding, emphatic, consistent, loving parent. Without involvement, there is no commitment. Mark it down, asterisk it, circle it, underline it. No involvement, no commitment. Treat them all the same by treating them differently. Words are like eggs dropped from great heights. You could no more call them back than ignore the mess they left when they fell. When air is charged with emotions, an attempt to teach is often perceived as a form of judgment and rejection. The only person I know is the person I want to be. As long as you think the problem is out there, that very thought is the problem. We must look at the lens through we see the world, as well as the world we see, and that the lens itself shapes how we interpret the world. The undisciplined are slaves to moods, appetites and passions.